Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm going to go my review of WWE's Elimination Chamber. Starting off tonight, we have the Women's Elimination Chamber matchup. The contestants of that matchup are Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Bayley, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, and Naomi. I thought it was a good match, man. Liv and Naomi start the match for the Women's Elimination Chamber match, but before the match even really gets started, we get the return of Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill comes out to the ring. Liv shows a reaction of Jade walking down to the ring. Looks like Jade was going to attack Liv Morgan, but instead ends up attacking Naomi. Looks like Naomi was the person that attacked Jade, which took Jade off the shelf for WWE for a little while. So it looks like Naomi was the person that attacked Jade. Jade attacks Naomi. Belair is losing her mind, watching everything go on while she is standing in her pod. WWE staff are trying to get Jade Cargill to leave the ring, but Jade slams the chamber door on Naomi. The announcer of the Elimination Chamber announced that Naomi has been eliminated of the Elimination Chamber due to the fact that she was not medically cleared. Belair is the next entrant. Naomi is carted off on a stretcher. Belair then hits a handspring moonsault for a near fall. Roxanne Perez is the next entrant in the Women's Elimination Chamber matchup. Perez then hits a Hurricane Rana on Belair. Bayley then is the next entrant. Bayley then hits an elbow drop off the top on Belair for a near fall. Perez then hits a frog splash for a near fall. Alexa Bliss is the next entrant. Perez then applies a crossface on Bayley, but the hold is broken. Liv then hits an oblivion on Bayley, pins for the three. Bayley is now eliminated from the Women's Elimination Chamber matchup. Liv then hits a code breaker on Perez. Alexa then hits a twisted bliss off the top rope on Perez as well. Pins for the three, and Perez is now eliminated from the match. Liv then hits three amigos on Belair. Alexa then hits a Sister Abigail on Belair. Liv then hits a roll-up on Alexa. Pins for the three, and Alexa Bliss is now eliminated from the match. Liv then hits a code breaker on Belair. Belair then gets up, hits a spear on Liv for a near fall. Belair then hits a KOD, pins for the three. Liv Morgan is now eliminated from the match. And your winner of the Women's Elimination Chamber match, and moving on to face either Io Sky or Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, is Bianca Belair. A couple things I'm going to talk about with this matchup, man. Number one, I thought the Women's Elimination Chamber matchup was great. I thought it was great from top to bottom. I like the fact that they brought Jade back into the fold. It was pretty much heavily speculated that she was going to return at some point. The return was imminent at some point, that she would return to WWE after being pretty much written off TV due to injury. My speculation was correct. I told you guys for the past couple weeks after Jade was pretty much written off TV that the mystery attacker for Jade was Naomi, and that there was going to be a falling out here between Naomi, Belair, and Jade, where there was going to be one of them that was going to turn their back on whether it was going to be Belair or Naomi on Jade Cargill. It was bound to happen at some point. My prediction was going to be Naomi. Number one, Naomi's done, in my opinion, Naomi's done great things since she's been back in the fold with WWE. She's obviously former, WWE Women's Tag Team Champion. She had a really good career over in TNA as well. But there needed to be something that needed to be changed with Naomi. I think Naomi, the dynamic of Naomi and her being a babyface, it just wasn't working. In my honest opinion, there needed to be something that was a change enough for Naomi. And what better way to do that is for Naomi to actually turn her back on Jade, attack Jade, and now we have Naomi turning heel. The biggest wild card in this, honestly, is going to be Bianca Belair. And are they going to set up a match possibly with Jade and Bianca as if, Jade might ask Bianca some questions like, how long did you know? How did you not know? How come you didn't call and check on me while I was injured and out? And this is going to play into some really good storyline here between possibly Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. They're building Jade up to be a predominant force in the women's division on SmackDown, or in WWE for that matter. Number one, when they brought Jade in, Jade looked great. I liked the way they brought her back. She's a powerhouse, man. I think Jade, a lot of people say Jade needs more time to develop her craft and her skill in the ring. And it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. What I will say is, Jade's coming back now into the fold after being obviously written off TV with an injury from Naomi. After Naomi, I'm assuming, threw her off that loading bay onto the windshield of a vehicle. Hopefully it gave her time to build her craft and training down at the Performance Center a little bit and building her craft to get her back on the main roster scene. I think it's going to be something that's going to be very telling for the next couple of weeks leading up to WrestleMania. Obviously, It could be a WrestleMania matchup here between Naomi and Naomi and Jade Cargill, or it could be Bianca, she's kind of, got her stuff tied up to either Rhea Ripley or Io Sky, but we could see a WrestleMania match for sure between Naomi and Jade Cargill, possibly night one at WrestleMania for sure, and hopefully they can build that story up between Jade and Naomi. But it's great to see Jade back in the fold in WWE. I look forward to what's going to happen next between Jade and Naomi. I look forward to what's going to happen with Bianca. Bianca was watching on as, Jade was pretty much beating the hell out of Naomi in that Elimination Chamber matchup. So I'm sure, hopefully we get some kind of rebuttal from Bianca. And Bianca probably has a lot of questions for Naomi. Why'd you do it? What was the reason behind this? Why did you do what you did? Why did you take out Jade? What is the purpose of you doing this? And hopefully we get some more insight on that. Hopefully this week on Raw, or if not on SmackDown. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But hats off to Belair, man. Hats off to Belair for getting the win in the Women's Chamber matchup. And she will face the winner of Rhea Ripley and Io Sky at WrestleMania this year for the Women's World title. Definitely looking forward to that matchup. I'm hoping that we do get Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair at WrestleMania for the Women's World title. That is my prediction for WrestleMania. Speaking of the women, though, we move into our next match of the night. It's a tag team matchup. It is Nia Jax teaming up with Candice LeRae to take on Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton. I thought it was a good match, man. It was a back-and-forth matchup between both teams with Nia Jax and Candice LeRae keeping the pace of the match. Stratton then hits a handspring back elbow. Nia Jax then hits a leg drop on Tiffany Stratton. Trish then lands a bulldog off the top rope on Nia Jax, which allowed Stratton to hit a moonsault on Nia, pins for the 3. And your winners of the match are Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton. Hats off to Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night, in my honest opinion, possibly match of the night. It's an unsanctioned matchup between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Now, number one, I thought it was a great match. Obviously, there was a lot of hostility here between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn leading up to this match, where Kevin Owens landed a pile driver on Sami Zayn, which almost could have ended his career. The same pile driver that Owens landed on also Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. Like I said, the match itself was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Owens and Zayn, with Zayn and Owens both exchanging in the middle of the ring. Owens then hits Zayn with a chair shot. Zayn then hits Owens with a chair shot of his own. Zayn then brings out a hockey stick. The crowd goes crazy. Zayn then hits Owens with a hockey stick. Owens then hits Zayn with a hockey stick. Zayn then hits a back suplex on Owens through a table. Zayn then hits a powerbomb on Owens through a table as well. Zayn then hits Owens with a trash can lid. Owens then grabs the ring bell, hits Sami Zayn over the head with the ring bell. Owens then throws Zayn over the top rope. Zayn goes through 2 tables that were set up on the outside. Owens then hits a brain buster through a chair for a near fall on Sami Zayn. Zayn then gets up, somehow, hits an exploder suplex on Owens through a chair. Zayn then goes for a haluva kick but missed Kevin Owens and ends up taking out the referee. Owens then capitalizes on this by hitting a stunner on Zayn for a near fall. Owens then goes for a pin, goes to a 2 count. Owens then gets pissed off at the referee, attacks the ref. Owens then hits a fisherman buster through a table for a near fall. Zayn then gets up, hits a haluva kick for a near fall on Kevin Owens. Zayn then hits Owens with a barbed wire chair. Zayn then sends Owens face first into a barbed wire chair. Zayn then hits a Blue Thunder Bomb on a chair structure on Owens for a near fall. Owens then gets up, hits a pump-up power bomb on Zayn in the middle of the ring. Owens then sends Zayn through the ring post while Zayn has a chair wrapped around his neck. Owens then hits a powerbomb on Zayn off the apron. It looked absolutely brutal. Owens then hits another powerbomb on Zayn off the apron as well. Pins for the 3. And your winner of the match is Kevin Owens. After the match, though, Owens then rips up the floor mat. Looks like he was going to hit a pile driver on Zayn. All of a sudden, Randy Orton music hits. The crowd goes crazy. Orton comes out to the ring, attacks Kevin Owens. Orton then quickly hits an RKO on Owens, and then Orton goes for a running knee, but he is stopped by WWE staff. Hats off to Kevin Owens for getting the win in that matchup, but we also get the return of Randy Orton. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the Men's Elimination Chamber matchup, and the names of this match, or who are in this matchup, consist of Logan Paul, Damian Priest, CM Punk, John Cena, Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins. The match itself, I thought was a really good match, man. Back and forth matchup. Rollins hits a springboard knee. Priest enters the match next. Priest and McIntyre both exchange in the middle of the ring. Priest then hits a razor's edge, sending Rollins into McIntyre. McIntyre then hits a powerbomb on Rollins for a near fall. Logan Paul is the next entrant. Logan then hits a standing moonsault in the middle of the ring. Priest then hits a Hurricane Rana on McIntyre. Cena is the next entrant. Cena then hits an AA on Priest and Rollins. Cena then hits a 5-knuckle shuckle on Logan. Cena then hits an AA on Logan in the middle of the ring. Drew then hits a Claymore on John Cena. Priest then hits a roll-up on Drew. Pins for the 3, and Drew McIntyre is now eliminated from the men's Elimination Chamber matchup. After the match, Drew hits a Claymore kick on Priest. Logan then hits a frog splash off the top rope on Priest, pins for the 3, and Damian Priest is now eliminated for the men's chamber matchup. Punk is the next entrant. Rollins and John both exchange in the middle of the ring. Punk hits a GTS on Logan, pins for the 3, and Logan Paul is now eliminated for the men's chamber match. Punk and Cena then both show respect in the middle of the ring, followed by an exchange between Punk and Cena. Cena then applies an STF on Punk. Punk then gets out of that, applies an Anaconda Vice on Cena, but the hold is broken. Cena then hits an AA on Punk for a near fall. Rollins then hits a pedigree on Punk for a near fall. Punk then hits an elbow drop off the top rope on Rollins. Rollins then gets up, hits a foot stomp on Punk for a near fall. Punk then hits a GTS on Rollins. John then hits an AA on Rollins. Pins for the 3, and Rollins is now eliminated from the men's chamber matchup. After that, Punk then hits a GTS on John for a near fall. John then hits an AA on Punk for a near fall. Rollins, who's still in the match, even though he got eliminated, hits a foot stomp on CM Punk. John capitalizes on this by applying an STF on CM Punk in the middle of the ring. And your winner of the match, and moving on to face Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, is John Cena. Hats off to John Cena for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have Cody Rhodes and The Rock. They have a segment at the end of the night. The Rock is looking for an answer from Cody Rhodes on whether Cody Rhodes is going to sell his soul to Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Rhodes comes out to the ring wearing the Universal title. He congratulates John for winning the Elimination Chamber match, but they are quickly interrupted by The Rock. The Rock comes out to the ring. The Rock wants to embrace Cody Rhodes. Rock says that he wants Rhodes' soul. He wants an answer. Rock says that if Rhodes says no, the dream dies. After that, Rhodes says that his soul does not belong to him, but instead belongs to the fans of WWE. Rhodes says that he won't sell his soul. Rhodes tells Will Rock no. After that, the crowd erupts. John then goes to embrace Cody Rhodes, but instead The Rock gives John Cena a look, and Cena looks back at The Rock. Cena then takes a step back from embracing Cody Rhodes, and it hits Rhodes with a low blow. The crowd goes crazy as John Cena attacks Cody Rhodes with the Universal title. A couple of things I want to talk about, man, when it pertains to Elimination Chamber before I get the hell up out of here. Number one, man, I have to confidently say that this was probably one of the best PLEs that I've seen with WWE for quite a while, from multiple different angles. I mean, in the beginning of the show, we had the Women's Elimination Chamber matchup, and we get the return of Jade Cargill. And there was a lot going on. You know, leading up to Elimination Chamber, and even after what happened to Jade, a lot of people didn't really know what exactly the hell happened to Jade. No one knew who attacked Jade. You know, you had Nick Aldis trying to do his own investigation on what really happened to Jade. You know, he finally gets something in the process of him trying to figure out what happened to Jade. He calls Naomi and Jade to the back, and it looks like someone was taking a video of, Jade being carted off in a stretcher into an ambulance, and then you look to the left in the parking lot, and you see Raquel and Liv Morgan, seemingly just walking past everything that's going on while Jade is getting, pretty much stretchered out into an ambulance and being taken away after her, her being tossed off a loading bay onto a car windshield. So everybody's initial thought probably at that time was, man, it had to be Liv Morgan and Raquel, being the people that were behind attacking Jade Cargill and leaving her pretty much, laying on top of a windshield off of a loading bay in a vehicle, on a vehicle. So everybody probably assumed that at that time it was Liv Morgan and Raquel that attacked Jade Cargill. Well, that was not the case, clearly. My initial thought process was that it was going to be Naomi. And I've said that for multiple weeks, that Naomi was the person that was behind the attack of Jade Cargill. And I think what happened was, in the way they're building the storyline, is Naomi got jealous. Naomi got jealous of Jade and wanted to take Jade out because Naomi wanted everything that Jade had. She wanted a strong relationship with Bianca. She also possibly wanted to be the women's tag team champion, which at that time was being currently held by Jade and Bianca. So it was almost as if Naomi was kind of playing the third wheel between Bianca and Jade, and Naomi wanted a little bit more spotlight in that stable or that team instead of it just being Jade and Bianca. Jade coming back into the fold and showing up in Elimination Chamber, number one, she looked great. She looked phenomenal. She's a powerhouse, and obviously, there was a lot of speculation that her return to WWE was going to happen imminently. Like her return was going to happen at any time, and it was a great way to bring her back. And with her coming back in and just beating the hell out of Naomi, so much so that she, wasn't even able to participate in the Women's Elimination Chamber matchup, and then she had to be stretchered out, pretty much to an ambulance because of the attack that Jade pretty much laid out Naomi. And I thought that was a great way to bring Jade back into the fold. And like I mentioned earlier, I look forward to what's going to happen with the rebuttal from Naomi and what Jade has to say, as well as Bianca Belair, because the entire time that Jade was beating the shit out of Naomi, you could see Bianca, sitting in her pod or standing in her pod, showing so much emotion as Jade is beating the hell out of Naomi. I mean, she was literally upset due to the fact that Jade came back and just started wailing on Naomi. So, there's that story. And my thing is, like I mentioned earlier, is it something where Bianca really wasn't checking on Jade? Was Bianca, Belair not calling Jade saying, hey, what's going on? How you doing? Yada, yada, yada. Could Jade come back and say, hey, where was my phone call? How come you didn't check up on me, man? We're supposed to be friends. We're supposed to be buddies. You're not checking up on me, see how I'm doing. You're not really looking into everything and trying to figure out who attacked me, yada, yada, yada. So there could be a storyline in itself between Jade and Bianca. Now, even though Bianca's pretty much tied up now with with Rhea or Io Sky leading up to this year's WrestleMania, I look forward to what's going to be the rebuttal from Bianca. You know what I mean? Obviously, she has two of her friends. One of her friends attacked the other friend. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts into all this. And to be honest with you, I could see possibly Jade Cargill versus Naomi, possibly night one of WrestleMania, for sure. And, we see Jade pretty much in her first kind of singles match and first story, if you will, in WWE. So it's going to be telling to see how Jade, does pretty much in a singles run, because I don't see her teaming up with Bianca. At least not right now. And two, her being in her first predominant story since she's been with WWE, because, Jade really hasn't been a part of her own storyline at all since she's been, with WWE. So to see her in this storyline with Naomi, it's going to be very telling to see how Jade, does under the pressure for the storyline and creating build-up towards a possible matchup with herself and Naomi. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm definitely looking forward to what Jade has to say, as well as Bianca Belair and especially Naomi. Why Naomi why did she do what she did? Why did she attack Jade? And hopefully we get some kind of insight on that here, whether it's on Monday Night Raw or if not SmackDown this week. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. We also had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. That match was incredible. To me, possible match of the night. Kevin Owens, man, Kevin Owens is one of those guys, man, where it's number one, he should be world champion. I 100% agree with a lot of people that I talk to. They're like, man, Kevin Owens really needs to be world champion, or universal champion, or world heavyweight champion. And I agree with that, man. Kevin Owens is a workhorse. He's had some great matches these past couple months, man. That match he had with Cody Rhodes was a great match. It was a great spot in that match where Cody Rhodes hit that Alabama slam on Owens off the announce table, sending Owens, head first into a ladder that pretty much snapped right in half. It was just a brutal spot, man. It took me back to the old Cactus Jack days. It was brutal. And then we had this matchup between him and Zayn. And Zayn and Owens have had a history, man. Whether it was on the Indies or, wherever. They've had some great matches, man. Great matches. And, it's one of those things where it's, Kevin Owens. My thing with Owens, obviously what's next for Owens is Randy Orton. We got the return of Randy Orton after the matchup between Owens and Zayn, where Owens was seemingly, it looked like he was going to hit a power driver on Zayn on the exposed concrete floor, but he was interrupted by Randy Orton, where Orton comes out and lays Owens out with an RKO. So it looks like there will be a matchup here between Orton and Owens, a rematch between those guys. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Randy Orton and Owens is going to tear the house down. Obviously, there's some unfinished business there between Orton and Owens. And I'm looking forward to it, man. Like I said, they're building storylines and more intrigue leading up to this year's WrestleMania, where, for the past couple of weeks, I've kind of been like, hey, man, WWE's kind of been pumping the brakes here to lead, on the road to WrestleMania, where they need to be, full steam ahead and pedal to the metal as far as, excitement and storyline and build leading up to this year's WrestleMania. It's the biggest show of the year for professional wrestling, man. It is their Super Bowl for professional wrestling. So I just felt as if, after the Rumble, WWE kind of took their foot off the gas pedal and probably started pumping the brakes just a little bit, and I didn't really understand why. But now they got story, man. They got storylines, leading out the wazoo right now with Orton and Owens. We got the return of Jade Cargill. Obviously, there's going to be some kind of situation there between Jade and Naomi. So they're slowly starting to build more towards, more matches leading up to this year's WrestleMania, which I'm definitely looking forward to. And like I said, Owens and Zayn was great. We had the men's Elimination Chamber matchup as well. I thought it was a really good matchup. There's a lot of confusion in that match as well. It's some cool moments, man. Seeing CM Punk and John in the middle of the ring, they embrace. Obviously, both these guys were big rivals back in the day. And they're just both beating the hell out of each other. It made for a great storyline within the match. The match itself was a really good match, I thought. And, once again, Seth Rollins, he stuck to his promise and that he was going to crush CM Punk's WrestleMania dreams, and he did that by hitting that foot stomp, which allowed John Cena to apply that STF on Punk, and Punk taps out, which ultimately got John Cena the win in the men's Elimination Chamber matchup. So obviously there's some unfinished business there between Rollins and Punk, which most likely could happen at WrestleMania. And that's the thing, after with John Cena winning, which I will talk about, obviously, The Rock and John Cena, because it was the biggest part of the night. But with the men's Elimination Chamber matchup, man, there's a lot of questions that I have with that as well. And mainly, specifically, I would say CM Punk. And now that John had won the Chamber match, obviously John has he's going to WrestleMania this year. He will face Cody Rhodes for the Universal title. The biggest question mark I want to say is CM Punk. And a lot of people are pointing the finger in the direction towards the situation that Punk had with Paul Heyman, where Heyman owes Punk a favor. Now, what that favor could be, I have no idea. Is CM Punk going to pull the trigger on that favor here soon? Probably. It could happen on Raw. It could happen on SmackDown, where he does ask Paul Heyman, hey, it's time for me to cash in that favor. And that favor could be an abundance of things. It could be a spot in the main event, scene with Cena taking on Cody Rhodes. We could get a triple threat match between Rhodes, Punk, and Cena at WrestleMania Night 2, which would be absolutely epic. I don't know. It could be something where, Punk could be talking to Heyman to kind of get, The Rock out of the way. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things to factor into with CM Punk, and my biggest takeaway from even before Elimination Chamber happened, well, what was going to happen with Cody Rhodes? Because there was no way in hell that you were going to have WrestleMania and not have your Universal Champion a part of this year's WrestleMania. There was no way. Jay already locked in his answer after he won the Rumble that he was going to challenge once again Gunther for the World Heavyweight title, which I pretty much predicted that was going to happen. And Jay obviously has a lot of unfinished business there with Gunther. And I'm looking forward to that matchup. I think it's going to be a really good match. But the biggest wild card at that time was Cody Rhodes. What is going to happen with Cody Rhodes? And then we see The Rock return and, ask Cody for his soul. And, everybody was speculating on what the hell Cody Rhodes was going to do, what's going to happen. And then we get to the Chamber, and John wins the Chamber, and then, John's still, hanging around the ring, and then we get Cody Rhodes coming out to greet John Cena. They get face-to-face. They pretty much embrace in the middle of the ring. Cody Rhodes congratulates John for winning the Chamber matchup, and the match at that moment is pretty much set between John Cena and Cody Rhodes at this year's WrestleMania for the Universal title, which is going to be an absolute epic matchup between John and Cody. And that match now, after what happened, definitely intensified a lot more than what the original plan was going to be. Now, when John was in the ring with Cody, then we get The Rock coming out to the ring, grabs a microphone. He's looking for Cody Rhodes to embrace him, and The Rock asks for, Cody for his soul. And, and Cody Rhodes, his own way, he tells The Rock no. And The Rock warned him before that and said, hey, if you tell me no, the dream dies. That offer is no longer on the table. So Cody goes ahead and tells The Rock no, which, pretty much everybody predicted that Cody Rhodes was not going to sell his soul to Dwayne The Rock Johnson. But the biggest takeaway from this, and a lot of people even today are still talking about this, is the fact that you see John embrace Cody Rhodes after, Rhodes tells The Rock no. And then you see The Rock, pretty much behind Cody Rhodes as John Cena is embracing, Rhodes. And the look on, John Cena's face after, The Rock makes this gesture. And then Cena takes a step back and he has this smirk on his face and he hits a low blow on Rhodes. That entire crowd erupted. Everybody over the internet erupted on the fact that here we have one of the biggest baby faces of all time being John Cena. Finally, after all this time, finally turning heel and hitting a low blow on the biggest current babyface in the company being Cody Rhodes. and John Cena joins the likes of The Rock, and the John Cena is The Rock's champion. Cena sold his soul to The Rock. Nobody, I never thought, man, that this would ever happen. I never thought that we would see John Cena finally turn heel after all this time and join the likes of The Rock leading up to this year's WrestleMania. It makes this matchup between John and Cody even more intriguing on multiple angles. Obviously in the beginning when, John won the chamber match, then we get John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. Two of the biggest baby faces in WWE history, and John is trying to break the record, become 17-time World Heavyweight Champion. That was the initial story. Now with John turning heel and hitting that low blow on Rhodes in the middle of the ring and then beating the shit out of Rhodes by hitting him with the Universal title, then you see The Rock and John standing side by side in the middle of the ring, and Cena has that just look on his face like the hell with y'all. It was great, man. I was so happy about this. I was excited. It definitely got me intrigued leading up to this year's WrestleMania because, man, it took all this time for John to turn heel. And no one, even myself included, nobody thought that John was going to turn heel. Nobody. And for John to do that and the way that he did it and how they ended the show with John being heel and beating the shit out of Cody Rhodes, it was great, man. This was probably one of the best pay-per-views that WWE's put together in quite some time. The Rumble was great, and I still believe it was one of the best Rumbles we've had in a very long time. But this Elimination Chamber Elimination Chamber pay-per-view was probably one of the best pay-per-views that WWE has put together in a very long time. And just from storylines to returns, we got Jade returning, Randy Orton, and then we get John Cena, of all people, turning heel for the first time in his career. And he's been with WWE for quite a while. And a lot of people, even back then, were desperately waiting for John to turn heel, and he just didn't do it. And there's even some people that I talk to that are legitimately pissed off that John turned heel. They're like, why is he doing this now? Why not? My initial thought of this was, why not? There's nothing left for John to do at this point but for John to turn heel. You want to make an impact, and you keep preaching. And I knew something was going to happen because he kept reiterating that, he's doing what he's doing because it's best for business. And this was the same thing that was getting preached back in the day when it was, Seth Rollins and the corporation with, Stephanie and Hunter. And it was what's best for business. And John kept reiterating this time and time again, doing all these press conferences and post-press conferences after these events. And he would tell everybody, hey, I'm doing the chamber match, or hey, I'm trying to do this because it's best for business. Or I will be in the main event for WrestleMania because it's best for business. It was starting to slowly turn into, oh, hey, man, this is a very good chance that, John might turn heel. The ball was slowly starting to roll in the aspect of John possibly turning heel, and that's exactly what we got. And it made for one hell of a moment, man. That moment alone, where John hit a low blow on Cody Rhodes, and you see Rhodes, or you see John Cena and The Rock standing, side by side in the ring. That moment right there is going to live in wrestling history for a very long time. I'm not going to put it up there with Hogan turning heel and joining the NWO, but it's damn near close to it. Absolutely. And my thing is, a lot of people say, well, why is he doing it? Why not? Why not? There's nothing else left for John to do. At this point, John is already going after the record to be 17-time world champion and beating Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. So we already have that. Let's sweeten the pot a little bit. Let's sweeten the deal by having John Cena finally turn heel leading up to this year's WrestleMania match with Cody Rhodes. And no matter what the outcome of this match is going to be, whether it's Rhodes beating Cena or, somehow Cena beats Cody Rhodes for the Universal title, it's a win-win across the board. It's not something where, the WWE booked themselves into a corner. No, this is a win-win situation, in my honest opinion, across the board. Because right now, Cody Rhodes is the biggest babyface of the company right now. And it intensified even more after what Cena did, at the Chamber. 10 times, 20 times more than what he already was. He's the biggest babyface of the company. Now, like I said before, with Cena turning heel, it's only going to intensify this match even more. And it's a win-win. It really is, because Cody Rhodes can go into WrestleMania and, beat John Cena and become even a bigger star than what he is now. And Cena passes the torch to Cody Rhodes. We have that. Or, on the flip side of that coin, we have Cena coming in this year's WrestleMania as a heel. beating Cody Rhodes, becoming 17-time World Heavyweight Champion, beating the record that is currently tied between Cena and Ric Flair for the person who held the title the most. Cena can break that record, be a heel, and just decimate Cody Rhodes in the middle of that ring, and be The Rock's champion. It's a very good possibility that could happen. I'm not rolling it off the table, but and a lot of people, we don't want to see Rhodes versus Cena. Man, I guarantee you now that whole outlook has changed now. I bet money on it. Everybody was the summer of Punk, the summer of Punk. No, bro, I don't see it. It's Cody Rhodes and John Cena. I know Punk wants his WrestleMania moment, and do I think he'll still get it? Yeah, I do. And the reason why I believe that is because, again, I will reiterate this, that Paul Heyman does owe Cody Rhodes a favor. What that favor might entail, I have no idea. I have no clue. Nobody knows. But is CM Punk going to cash in that favor before this year's WrestleMania? Oh, you better believe he will. Absolutely. Because Punk at this point is desperate, and he's going to do whatever the hell he can do to be a part of this year's WrestleMania. So much so where, you would almost think that he might even also sell his soul and join the likes of The Rock. I don't know. Maybe The Rock's trying to form a super stable. I don't know. Right now it's The Rock and John. Is CM Punk going to be added to that list with, Dwayne The Rock Johnson? I don't know. That's the million-dollar question, man. What's going to happen again with CM Punk? It went from, what is Cody going to do at WrestleMania? Now it's what is CM Punk going to do? Because CM Punk has that favor in his back pocket. And like I said before, you better believe that he's going to use that favor. Oh, hell to the yeah, he will. Do you think CM Punk is going to sit, idly by and not be a part of this year's WrestleMania? Oh, hell no. No. Ain't no chance in hell, man. So he's going to cash in that favor with Paul. And I don't know how much pull Paul Heyman has in WWE. I'm assuming a lot at this point. But who knows what this favor is going to be? It could be something where, he asked Roman to take out The Rock, or he asked Roman to take out John and puts, CM Punk into that. Who knows? I have no idea. But then it also begs the question, are we not going to have Roman Reigns a part of this year's WrestleMania plans? So there's still a lot of questions that are unanswered at this very moment leading up to this year's WrestleMania. And I know there's some people that I know of that I talk to, which is crazy to think this, that hate this bloodline storyline shit. They hate it. They're tired of it. They're done with it. To me, I told you guys, man, it's like a fine wine. This shit keeps getting better over time. And it just got better at Elimination Chamber with John finally turning heel and joining the final boss, The Rock, leading up to this year's WrestleMania. So, for those who hate the bloodline storyline or just hate everything that has to do with the bloodline, I don't know what to tell you, man. Right now, the bloodline shit that's going on right now is, in my honest opinion, is saving this company's ass. 100%. And I'm not saying WWE is bad. I'm not saying that, but I will say Raw and SmackDown as of late has kind of been stale. But this storyline right now with the bloodline that's been going on now for 2-3 years, if not longer, has been one thing that's been keeping this company afloat, bro. And a lot of people are invested in this bloodline storyline, no matter what. And people want to know that this shit could probably go on for another 2-3 years with this bloodline shit. Absolutely. With Jacob Fatu in the mix, you got Solo Sikoa, some possible new add-ons to the bloodline. I know Hikuleo is supposedly down at the Performance Center. He's the brother of Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. You bring someone like him in, he's a giant. So, obviously, this bloodline storyline shit can go on for another 2 years. And to me, honestly, in my opinion, I don't think I have any problem with that at all. If they keep doing the shit they're doing now, no way. No way. This is the biggest storyline right now in all professional wrestling across the board, whether it be TNA, AEW, WWE, New Japan, wherever. The bloodline shit that's going on right now is the biggest, is the storyline right now in professional wrestling, hands down. And I'm sorry, man, but, like I said, one of the biggest moments was John turning heel. This is going to be something that's going to be talked about for generations to come. This is the same thing that happened when Hogan, turned his back on Randy Savage. And who was the third guy that was going to join Hall and Nash? And then Hogan comes out to the ring, drops a leg drop on Randy. And then we get Hogan finally turning heel and joining the likes of Hall and Nash as the outsiders, and they form the NWO. It's about the same thing. The only difference is right now, I don't know if this is a stable with The Rock and John. I have no idea. But if they were to decide to go that route, am I going to hate that? Hell no. 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 Because the way I would look at it, when it pertains to John Cena, I don't know if they're going to put, John on SmackDown or Raw, or, put him more on episodes leading up to this year's WrestleMania. I'm hoping they do. Because, before the Chamber, the last time we saw John was around the Royal Rumble. So, it was like a whole month that we didn't see John. So, hopefully, we do see John on a SmackDown or Raw here soon. But with now John turning heel, I don't know if you want to see like the Doctor of Thugonomics John, or we get this, the Hollywood John Cena that we've never seen before joining The Rock, and John Cena just comes off as a prick to everybody, man. And he's better than everybody, the hell with everybody else, and it just, I don't know, but it definitely builds excitement to this year's WrestleMania, and this was something that they needed. This was something that WWE needed, a shot in the arm to get excitement and build up towards this year's WrestleMania, and they finally pulled the trigger on it, and they finally did it, because everybody that I've talked to and that I know of are ecstatic right now and happy and invested in really what the hell was going on here, because no one knows. Why did John do what he did? What made John snap finally for him to say, you know what, the hell with this shit, I'm going to go heel? Because he's been babyface throughout his entire career. So, there's that question. What's going to happen next with Cody Rhodes? And honestly, a lot of people want to know what Cody's rebuttal was going to be. I'm sure he's had a lot of questions on why John did what he did that night at Elimination Chamber. And that's what I mean by the build, man. This is what I mean by the storyline, that fans are getting invested. This is them putting their foot back on the gas pedal again and getting the fans excited for this year's WrestleMania. And I'm excited, bro. I'm excited for Raw this week. I'm excited for SmackDown. I'm excited for the next few shows leading up to WrestleMania. I think we got roughly, 8 or 9 weeks leading up to this year's WrestleMania. So, and it's the biggest show of the year. It's, it is pro wrestling Super Bowl every year being WrestleMania, is the show of immortals. And to me, just like last year's WrestleMania, man, I think this year's WrestleMania is not going to be something that you want to miss. I really don't. I'm excited to see Cena and Rhodes in the middle of this ring for the Universal title, where anything can happen, man. Is Rhodes going to beat John? Or is John going to beat Cody Rhodes and break the record and become the first time ever 17-time World Heavyweight Champion, beating the record that was currently being held with from Ric Flair? And Cena tied that record with Ric Flair, and Ric Flair is one of the greatest of all time, man. He is the GOAT. He's 16-time World Heavyweight Champion. So, like I mentioned the past couple of weeks, this will be a huge, huge accolade for John. If John is somehow able to beat Cody Rhodes and become the 17-time World Heavyweight Champion, it's a huge honor and a huge accolade for John. So, the story writes itself, man. And now with what happened with John, it only intensifies this matchup even more. And I think WWE and Triple H, they hit a grand slam at Elimination Chamber. Absolutely. I think it was one of the best pay-per-views I've seen in quite a while from WWE. We had some great returns with Jade and Randy Orton. And then we get John Cena turning heel. What more can you ask for in a single night of professional wrestling? It was great, man. From top to bottom, this show was one of the best pay-per-views I've seen from WWE in quite a while. And, like I said, man, I look forward to what's going to happen next. There's a lot of questions from a lot of different superstars and different scenarios that are going on right now. Bianca, I'd love to hear from Jade and what she has to say of what happened that night when she was attacked clearly from Naomi. Hearing some kind of rebuttal from Naomi on what happened. Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, I'd like to hear what is going on between them two. And obviously Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is still the main vocal point, and rightfully so right now in WWE. But like I mentioned earlier, man, there's a lot of intrigue, but there's also a lot of, what ifs at this point. Obviously CM Punk is another name that's floating out, around out there. Is he going to cash in on that favor with Paul Heyman? And what the hell is this favor? What is Paul going to give CM Punk that is going to possibly help CM Punk get back onto the WrestleMania scene? How are we going to see Roman Reigns this year part of WrestleMania? Because right now, we haven't seen Roman. Roman's kind of been off the scene for a little bit now. So again, is Roman going to be a part of this year's WrestleMania? I don't know. I have no idea. We haven't heard anything from Roman. Is CM Punk going to want to look for answers from Paul or Seth Rollins on why he did what he did at the Chamber, which ultimately cost him the victory in the Chamber matchup with, Rollins, hitting that foot drop or foot stomp on CM Punk, which allowed John to hit that STF in the middle of the ring on Punk, and Punk taps out. or pretty much the referee sounds for the bell because Punk is passed out. So there's still a lot of shit going on behind closed doors right now that we just don't know. And, we also have possible names joining WWE here relatively soon. I know there's been a lot of talk of Aleister Black or Malachi Black returning to WWE. From what I've heard, that return is happening imminently. It could be this week's Raw. It could be this week's SmackDown. He is going to be returning to WWE. It's pretty much locked in at this point, and WWE is already coming up with plans to bring him into the fold back into WWE. There's also plans, from what I understand from WWE, plans that are moving forward once Rey Fenix gets released from AEW. So it does look as if Rey Fenix will be going over to WWE once he's out of AEW. There's also been speculation with AEW that there could possibly be more releases coming down the pike here soon for AEW. So again, there's going to be a lot of shit going on this year for professional wrestling. And I told you guys at the beginning of this year that, this year is going to be insane in professional wrestling across the board. And I think we're slowly starting to get that going on. We got Speedball Mike Bailey joining AEW, Josh Alexander. It looks like he's still testing free agency. It looks like I don't know if he's going to WWE or if not AEW. So there's a lot going on. But besides all that stuff, man, the Chamber, to me, was one of the best pay-per-views I've seen from WWE in quite a while. And obviously the biggest vocal point coming out of Elimination Chamber is the fact that we finally get to see the fact that John Cena, after all this time, goes from being one of the biggest baby faces in WWE history to now being a heel after all this time. Finally becoming a heel, going up against one of the biggest baby faces of the company right now, being Cody Rhodes. So I'm looking forward to this year's WrestleMania, and I look forward to what's going to happen this week on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, mainly because I want to see what's going to happen here with these different scenarios, man. Are we going to hear from Cody Rhodes? Are we going to hear from Jade on what the hell has been going on here and seeing the build-up for some more matches leading up to this year's WrestleMania? Because I think this WrestleMania is starting to pick up some pace here now with some more excitement leading up to this year's WrestleMania. So I'm definitely excited for it. And I'm definitely looking forward to it this year with WrestleMania, man. It's definitely going to be exciting. But with that being said, this is my review of WWE's Elimination Chamber. I hope you guys